The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
Raider Nation, ahoy. This is your captain speaking. Raider Nation Jason back with another episode. My apologies for the delays. I've been a little bit under the weather, but content, I'm going to start kicking it out multiple times a week for all the Raiders fans out there. I love you guys. Thank you for the ones who have subscribed. We got a lot of new subscribers this week and last week, so I want to send a special thank you to all of you who subscribed, who watched the videos. You can tell I'm a diehard, passionate Raiders fan, and hopefully it comes through on these videos. So we'll go ahead and get right into the show. I actually initially, moments before I hit the record button on this show, the Raiders Wire came through, and you know exactly what it said. At approximately 3:39 a.m. Tuesday morning in Las Vegas, a suburban intersection just a few miles from the Strip. The police say that our receiver, Henry Ruggs III, slammed his Corvette into the back of a Toyota RAV4. The RAV4 burst into flames. The young lady who was inside didn't make it, unfortunately. Henry Ruggs was said to have been under the influence. He was intoxicated of to some degree. I'm not sure if that was alcohol or what it was. Not that that even matters at this point, because now it's not about football. It's not about our season. It's not about anything else. This is a real life situation. And this is one of those things that could have been avoided so heavily. Me just coming back from Las Vegas, me and my wife had an amazing time. We walked up and down the Strip. We went to Allegiant Stadium. We did everything you're supposed to do in Las Vegas. But we were also safe. There are a number of Ubers and taxis, and the fact that you make so much money, you could have had a limo or a driver or anything to take place. There was also a young lady in the car with Henry, and she was taken to a medical facility. They said he had non-serious injuries related to the accident, but it's sucky to say that his career, especially right now, for the foreseeable future, is over. Like I said, I don't really care about when you're talking about the season, or when you're talking about careers, when you're talking about lives that are changed, lives that are gone, families that are now altered, people who are waiting for her to come home that will never see her again. And this could have all been avoided. It's so senseless. So before we get into anything football related, I implore you, I beg you, please, if you are out there, if you are hanging out, if you know you've had a couple to drink, call someone who cares about you, who loves you, and doesn't mind coming and get. I guarantee you, if you call someone and you've been drinking or you've been doing whatever, and you know you're not good enough to drive, or if you've just been drinking, because sometimes it's the problem. We've had a few to drink and we like, oh, I'm fine, and you end up causing something minor or something major. So if you're out there, loved ones will. No matter what time of the morning it is, you may get a little grief, but at least everyone gets home safely. Things like this can be avoided. So to the young lady, they have not released her name. My prayers go out to your family. My condolences go out to your family. I'm not quite sure, if you were survived by anyone, family or anything like that. But the most heartfelt condolences from Raider Nation Jason. I am so heartbroken for you and for Henry Ruggs and family. This is a long road. It's going to be a long, sucky road to go through. But hopefully you learn something. You learn a life lesson. You learn something you can take away from this HR, and you can be a better person on the other end of this. Your last word should be football right now, or the Raiders, or playoffs, or stats, or any of that. Like, oh, that's gone. You know what I mean? Because you so senselessly decided to drive your Corvette, which I know you love so much, and he posted on Instagram quite often. But I hate to open the show like that, but there's something that has to be addressed. Raiders fans, get home safe, man. Get home to your families. Get home to your loved ones. If it's at the expense of more money to call a cab or an Uber, or to bug somebody that really doesn't want to get out of bed at whatever time in the morning, I swear to you, to be able to have the conversation about it the next morning is far more worth it than getting in the car and trying to make it home. So yeah, to the family, the captain salutes you. My heart goes out to you and everyone involved in this. So Raider Nation, we've had a couple of shakeups in our division. The first thing I want to do is, uncharacteristic as this is, everyone knows I'm a diehard, crazy, stupid, wild Raiders fan. But I give respect where respect is due. And Von Miller, you get my respect. You know what I mean? You terrorized us on the football field for years, since 2011. You have been a thorn in the side of the Raiders and every other team that has played against you, but especially in the AFC West. You have dogged us out. You have worn us down. But the way you play football, I can do nothing but respect it. For those of you who don't know, unless you've been living under a rock and you don't pay attention to any sports news, Von Miller, one of the great linebackers of our time, has been traded from the Denver Broncos to the LA Rams. The Rams are looking really loaded. It's going to be a really uphill battle to take that away from them. So maybe it's, Tampa Bay and LA and the NFC title game. I'm not quite sure, but Von Miller, we're talking about a guy who was drafted in 2011, second overall pick. He was also Defensive Rookie of the Year in the same 2011. He is an 8-time Pro Bowler. He was drafted to the 2010s All-Decade team. He is also a member of the 100 Sacks Club. He leaves the Broncos with 481 total tackles, 110.5 sacks, 25 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns as well. Von Miller, you have my respect. Like I said, I don't like you, but everyone who knows me knows I hate the Broncos the Broncos and the Chiefs more than any sports franchise on the face of the earth. But I do give respect where respect is due. And Von Miller, you have earned our respect. So I want to give a shout out to you. And I guess I can't wish you well because, I wish you a healthy future, in the game and outside of the game. We do wish you well. But open up the show. Let's talk about some Raider news. Let's talk about some good stuff that's going on. How about this right here? Best in the West. The Raiders are sitting at 5-2 with some very winnable games coming up. I think PFF has us ranked at number 11 overall. It's been a long time since the Raiders this deep in the season has been ranked that high in the power rankings. So I'm really looking forward to seeing a couple of these games we have coming up. I know we have the Chargers again. We have the Broncos again. We have the Chiefs twice. As you see, we have the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. We have a few other games out there that, some winnable games. I know we still have to play the remainder of the AFC North. We still have a game against the Bengals. We have a game against the Browns. And so we also have a game against the Redskins. So like I said, some very winnable games coming up. Hopefully we can finish out strong. I know for some reason we're still ranked 5th to try to come out the AFC behind the Chiefs and the Bills for some reason. But, especially with that devastating injury to to Derrick Henry, to King Henry. Get well soon. That dude's an absolute animal on the field. But I heard he's a good person off the field. But like I said, we have some very winnable games coming up. If we can stay healthy, from what I understand, we don't have any known big injuries right now that we should be concerned about going into this game against the Giants. But just to look at our division right now, we got the LA Chargers, who are 4-3. Now, we beat the Ravens, who beat them. And they also lost to the Cowboys, which we had that very interesting Thanksgiving game coming up. So they can have really big implications on where we're landing, in the standings and, who owns tiebreakers and things like that, when they start to get into percentages if, records start to be the same and things like that. You also have Denver sitting at 4-4. Are the wheels falling off in Denver? I'm not quite sure. Is it Vic Fangio? A lot of people are calling for Vic Fangio's head. They don't really like his play calling. They don't like his style of approach to the game. Some people say it's Teddy Bridgewater. Some people say he should be traded and you should go ahead and get whatever you can for him while you can. Teddy Bridgewater is quoted as saying that it's not time to panic yet, but it almost is in Denver. And if you look at the schedule they have coming up, they have to play us again. They still have a really daunting schedule. So things are looking rough in Denver, which I'm happy about that. So Denver at 4-4 is sitting, like I said, they're possibly starting to panic. From what I understand, the morale in the locker room is really down. Some of the guys have already pushed the panic button. So that's a good news, bad news situation. Good news for us. We also had the Kansas City Chiefs, who just came off their win against the Giants Monday night, but they sit at 4-4. What's wrong with the Chiefs? I want you all to comment down below. What do you think is wrong with the Chiefs? Do you think they're biding their time? Are they just not a good football team right now? One of my best friends, this guy's like a brother to me, Big Chief. We're going to have him on the show. And he is a diehard, stupid, crazy, wild Chiefs fan. And me and him discuss football all the time. We go back and forth really tough. But, you know, the guy's my brother, and we have some good times. So I can't wait to continue that conversation here on the show. Big Chief will be here, in 2 weeks when we go play the Chiefs. So I'm actually really looking forward to that game. But Big Chief is going to be on here. But I'm starting to think that the Chiefs are a sleeping giant right now. I'm not quite sure what to make of them. I know that at any moment they can pretty much blow the top off. They still have speedy receivers. Their defense looks really porous. Their offense just looks really out of sync. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Is it because of the pieces they've lost, or I'm not quite sure what's going on. If the play calling is different, or if the morale in the locker room is shaken. But the Chiefs do not look like the monsters under the bed that they have been for the past really 3 or 4 seasons with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. But myself, I believe they're going to make a last half push. Now they just got that win over the New York Giants, which we play this Sunday coming up. So that'll be an interesting game to see if we can go ahead and put them away and make sure that they don't start to creep up in the standings. Because like I said, that's one of those teams that they're like a late half team. They've been like that in their football games. If you paid attention to the Chiefs as much as I have, in their football games, they're a second half team. They come along strong. They may go into the second half down, but they always come on strong in the third and fourth quarter. They put a lot of points up in the third and fourth quarter. So I'm really kind of waiting to see what they're going to do in the second half of the season. It's going to be a really big game for us. Derek Carr has traditionally struggled against the Chiefs, but he is playing lights out football in an MVP caliber season. So I'm really looking forward to see what he'll be able to do to that defense. Not to mention they just added Melvin Ingram from the Steelers, which is a huge acquisition. That was actually helping. We would have gone after Melvin Ingram to just really put a little extra piece right there in the middle of the field to just stop just really bolster that run stuffing ability, because our run stuffing is not working right now. So if we go against a football team that's really good at running the football, we are going to have problems, as we've already had with lesser football teams and lesser run games. But that kind of brings me into talking about what we got coming up. Week 8 at New York is going to be 12 noon in the Meadowlands. We have a 56% win percentage. I'm not quite sure if they factored in the Henry Ruggs news about that. But so far we have a 56 win percentage. They have the Raiders, -3. There's a 47.5 over and under on this game. They're looking for a shootout. So I don't know. But when you look at the two quarterbacks that are coming into this game, you got Derek Carr, who, like I said, is playing lights out MVP caliber football. He is coming into this game with 2,269 throwing yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 picks. But he also has a 60.7% QBR and a 67.7% completion rate. So Derek Carr is cranking those balls out. He's not checked down Charlie. I heard he has one of the best average depth. It's called the ADOT. They have all these weird analytics. But this one's called the ADOT, the average depth of target. Derek Carr used to be from the 4 to 6 range. Now he's in the 8 to 9 range. So it's showing that his targets are getting out there in the middle of the field and making things happen. So it's very interesting to see what he's going to be able to do against a team being led by Daniel Jones, who comes into this thing coming off that heavy loss to the Chiefs on Monday night. He comes in with 1,727 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks, with a QBR of 45.3. That is pretty rough. We have a vicious pass attack, and they're going to get after Daniel Jones. They're going to get after him early and often, and they are not going to relent. Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue have done things this season that we have been praying the football gods would do for the Raiders, and they are shown up and shown out in a tremendous way. These guys are the real deal. I was just looking at the numbers, and a few things stood out. Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue are first and second in QB pressures this season. Now, what's interesting about this is Crosby, who's tied for second, I would think with Trey Henderson from the Bengals, if I'm not mistaken, with 36 QB pressures. On the other hand, you have Yannick Ngakoue with 38 quarterback pressures already this season. And he just had an off week. We come out the bye. You know what I mean? So we have enough time to work our defensive scheme. We saw the tape. They're coming off a short week. They're a little banged up. They're without Saquon Barkley. They're without a couple of their number one targets. So our defense should really, really shine. But what I was saying about Yannick Ngakoue, he is an average of 0.73 seconds off the edge. That is the fastest in the NFL. That means almost the moment you snap the ball, he is almost already past your offensive lineman. He is an explosive player. He said he looks forward to being a Raider for the rest of his career. He wants to retire a Raider. With Gus Bradley's scheme, now we have Mike Mayock pretty much calling most of the shots in the draft room. I think when we start drafting some of these defensive players that'll start plugging and playing, and they're upgrades to the pieces that we already have, the Raiders have a really, really bright future, whether it's Rich Bisaccia or any coach that's going to come in. There's been some talks of possibly courting Mike Tomlin or a few other coaches, but I don't really care about that right now. I love the way we're playing for Coach Bisaccia. I love the way this team has come together in lieu of all the things, especially what happened with John Gruden. But to see how we're going to come together this Sunday with this Henry Ruggs news is going to be devastating. You have people on the team who are battling, addictions with alcoholism, and other, like Max Crosby, who is completely battling and kicking alcoholism's ass. That is a disease. If you are out there, I implore you to get help. Ask for help. That's always one of the first steps. You admit it, and then you ask for the help. So if you are out there, Max Crosby said he looks to a guy like the Wall, Darren Waller, as an inspiration, who's battled his own addictions and his own demons. So that's one of those things. Like I say, if you can get help, it's out there for you. Please go for it. Now, also coming into this game, week 8, we have no known injuries. I'm not quite sure about the updated injury report. It didn't show if Trayvon Mullen, I know he was on the IR, but I know it was a toe injury. I know toe injuries can be serious. It kept Josh Jacobs out for a bit. Hopefully we can get Trayvon Mullen back. But if not, I think with Faison, Hobbs, with Morick, Abram, and Hayward, I think we'll be fine. They've been playing really, really good lately. Amik Robertson was on the chopping block, so maybe he'll kind of get his act together. Damon Arnett, I think, is still on IR, so I'm not really looking for anything out of him. Somebody said, I know we activated Javen White, the linebacker. They said he's been practicing on the sidelines, so hopefully he'll be activated. I'm not quite sure if I take this with a grain of salt or not, but they also said that Richie Incognito has been practicing this week, or he's looking forward to start practicing this week. Richie Incognito, I think, in all honesty, needs to be cut this season. Let me know down in the comments what you think. I think he really needs to be gone. He's taking up cap space. But more importantly, he's taking up a spot on the roster for a young, hungry person who wants to come in, who possibly loves the Raiders, but who wants to make an impact and make a name for himself. Richie Incognito's kind of had his time. I think, it'll be all right if he just kind of rides off into the sunset and let somebody else carry that workload. Nicholas Morrow should be coming back possibly in this game or next week to add to that linebacker core, who's going to be a major upgrade to what we have already. Like I said, to bolster that run stopping and with that mid-range pass that we kind of get burned on from time to time, especially coming up against the Chiefs, who like to use that shuffle pass and a lot of trickery in the middle of the field to get down. It'd be really good to have Nicholas Morrow back, so we're looking forward to that. It appears that Josh Jacobs is okay from the chest contusion that he suffered in that game versus the Eagles. Coach Bisaccia said it didn't look that serious, but they were just, taking some precautions. Darren Waller, who they just let sit out, just to make sure he was healthy. He should be back 100%. Like I said, just looking at the injury report, it said everyone was a go. Of course, later on this week, we'll do an update on the injury report to make sure everything is still a go. But so far, so good. We are looking good against the Giants. The Giants have been struggling. I'm going to try to give a prediction. I'm going to be honest with this one. I think our offense is going to struggle a little bit as we try to look for. I hope Edwards steps up. I know Renfro is up for the task. I know Waller's also up for the task. Zay Jones, guys like that, y'all got to step up. Since we lost Willie Snead as well. But I think we have some willing pieces out there who know the playbook. who are willing to go out there and get it done at a high level. But with that being said, I will go ahead and say the offense struggles a bit because Henry Ruggs was a big piece to be able to take the top off the defense. So they'll be able to focus a little bit more on the inside of the field. I think Brian Edwards does have another monster game as he steps up as the number 1 receiver on our team. I'm going to go 28-24 Raiders at New York. I think we win this game. I think they score some garbage time points to make the score look a little bit closer than the game probably is going to be. I think our defense is going to have a monster day. I think our offense is going to be kicking on all 12 cylinders when they find out what they've lost and how to plug someone else and how to reroute our game plan to make sure that since Ruggs is gone for probably forever or maybe for at least the foreseeable future, that somebody can step out and, step up and pretty much be ready for it. I know pretty much the trade deadline is over with. A couple of things that we're looking for. I know Cleve Farrell had some trade rumors surrounding him. Jason Kels was a center we were looking at. Some other names like Bobby Evans, Andre Dillard, Morgan Moses were some people we were looking at to possibly try to help the O-line, which does need some help. Xavier Howard, people were even trying to court him. I think he's far too expensive. Unless you look at what he's going to be in the future. The Raiders, we usually draft poorly. We really have terrible drafts. Now that I think about it, not a lot of people who we've drafted are still on the team like that, or have a really big role, and they are important to the team like that. Don't get me wrong. I know we have a few, Carl Renfro, Jacobs, Crosby, a few people that we actually drafted, who are coming along and who are doing really big things with the team. But we don't typically draft well. We, had 4 or 5 first-round picks over 2-3 years. Kind of didn't come up with a whole lot. So I'm starting to think maybe draft capital is the way to go with the Raiders, and use that draft capital to get better players. But maybe a player like that wouldn't have been, too expensive if you look at what he would have been for the future. A guy like Fletcher Cox, would have been some good help on the defensive line and defensive tackle. So that's how we're looking so far going into this game against the Giants. Other news besides, like I said, Melvin Ingram going to the Chiefs. Old John Gruden is looking at filing a lawsuit against the NFL, which I rightfully think he should. I think some weirdness went on with how that was taken care of. I'm not supporting John Gruden because of after looking at what he said. Like I said, I can't back him or support him. But I do think it was handled unprofessionally. I think it was handled with malice and ill intent. And I do think that a higher court deserves to look at what really went on and further investigation into the Washington football team's claims of gross and mass sexual misconduct throughout their entire organization. So, hopefully we got some big things coming. Like I said, my good friend Big Chief, he's going to be on. One of my good friends, Chris Curry, he's a Giants fan and a big fan of the G-Men. He's going to be on this week. We're going to try to talk to him and see what he thinks about the game, give his predictions. I probably should have given my predictions this early. They may change throughout the week, looking at some things that will happen with our roster and things that will happen maybe with acquisitions or, injuries and things like that. So, so far, so good, Raider Nation. Rejoice, go home, love your families. Take care of one another, help each other make better decisions. Some of us fall into a situation to where we aren't necessarily capable of making the best decisions, or our judgment is clouded at a moment. Be that person that doesn't mind being the voice of reason to a friend that's not in a reasonable situation. Henry Ruggs found himself not in a reasonable situation. The young lady traveling with him probably was in the same inebriated state. But like I said, a phone call to a teammate, a friend. I even think the NFLPA has like free transportation that would have come and got him at any point in place and time. So just take care of yourselves, take care of your families, take care of the world. And what I mean is how you interact with people. You know what I mean? I.e. driving intoxicated early in the morning at a high rate of speed at a super, in a super fast car, or any car. If you're driving a damn bike, it doesn't matter. Make better decisions, people. Take care of us. Like I said, take care of yourselves. I can't say that enough. I don't feel like I'm beating a dead horse. But love yourselves, love one another. Until next time, y'all take it easy. I'll see you.
When you have great coaches Then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.